Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ismail Shahtakhtinski. I am the U.S. immigration lawyer, principal attorney at I.S. law firm. It's been a long while since we went live, so I'm glad to be back. Um, Starting today, we'll continue these live streams on bi-weekly basis. Every Thursday, we'll do our best to make it at 7 p.m. every second Thursday on bi-weekly basis. So please make sure to subscribe, spread the word, subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's start. This sessions will be more in a discussion format. So I will first talk about the subject of the live stream that we announce ahead of time, and then we will open the question answer session where all our viewers can ask any questions. Some of the questions get posted previously after our announcement. Some questions are the questions that are frequently asked or sent to us, and then hopefully there will be some of the questions from the viewers of the live streams. I will touch upon general policies. As you know, the topic of the today's live session is um, immigration updates 2025, and as the name suggests, it somehow sounds like Project 2025 vibe, and that's basically the major theme of today's conversation. But I will not talk too much about policies. I will try to boil it down to practical implications of these changes in the immigration laws under Trump administration, Trump 2.0, and how it affects on real life examples of on the real life applications, procedures, asylees coming to the United States, and the court proceedings in immigration courts and so on. So, um, what is going on since the beginning of this Trump administration, since January 20th? There have been significant changes, and those changes have been gradually increasing as the time progresses. Now we are, I would say, as of now, if we take the entire time from January 20th until now, we're at the peak of the enforcement in immigration laws or changes, and it seems like it keeps speeding up. I use the word Project 2025 vibe because that's what many refer to it. So, Project 2025, just briefly, that's something that the conservative organization, Heritage Foundation, came up with. A lot of people in the current Trump administration signed off on it and they swear by it. It has a lot of, I would say, radical conservative agenda, and some of it is being implemented today, and some of it obviously relates to immigration policies, immigration enforcement. Initially, I was skeptical, but as I see, as practicing immigration lawyer, as I see what is going on with all the changes and enforcement and so on, I think that's what they're doing. I can confidently say so. So, what is it? What are the changes? Number one, expedited removals. So, Trump administration have changed lots of procedures, how individuals who are undocumented in the United States can be removed. There is a lot of litigation going on in federal courts. There is, as with the first Trump administration, there is a roller coaster of changes in immigration laws, where the initial, the federal court, the district court says one thing, the appeal court reverses it, and then the Supreme Court looks at it and reverses again or modifies it. So we, as immigration lawyers, immigration law firm, we have to deal with that on a daily basis, and unfortunately, many of our clients have to deal with all this on a daily basis. So, in terms of enforcement, you've probably heard of uh, ICE agents, masked ICE agents going around different cities arresting individuals, ICE agents arresting individuals in immigration courts, those individuals who come diligently to their hearings, who appear at their hearings, master hearings, and so on. Some of them get arrested. Now, for full disclosure, I'll tell you that we have master hearings, throughout our time since throughout the Trump's second administration, beginning until now. probably at least one or two master hearings at least per week, some weeks a lot more than that, and some individual hearings. We haven't had any of our clients, and I personally have not observed any of the individuals being arrested, detained. Although I'm good relations with the usually court security and so on, and some of them tell me about those instances they have seen individuals showing up at their master hearings and they're getting detained. Who are those individuals? Usually they are either the entrants into the United States through the southern border who, without inspection, entered the United States, or who have some kind of criminal violations, whether it's criminal charges or criminal convictions. Some of them, unfortunately, have criminal charges and convictions from their home countries on basis of which they applied for asylum, and those are being used against them. All in all, I would say that generally what it seems to me as an immigration lawyer, being inside of all this and observing all this, it seems to me that the major policy of Trump administration is to instill fear, to intimidate, and this way to discourage people from coming to the United States, or those who are in the United States from trying to apply for immigration benefits and legalize their status in the United States. In some ways, it works. For example, through southern border, the flow of immigrants to southern border, those who cross the border have significantly reduced, and I would say, even probably stopped to the level of very few individuals crossing the border. I don't have the official statistics, but it significantly stopped, reduced, and many agree on this, including us immigration lawyers, immigration advocates. And the reason it worked is because the way Trump administration has been treating individuals who enter the United States through southern border, whether they're applying for refugee status, asylum status, or reuniting them with their families, or some individuals come to the United States for economic benefits. And the reason why it all stopped is because of the intimidation, because the Trump administration began detaining every single individual, keeping them in detention throughout the entire removal proceedings. That's about 6 months of time on average, sometimes a lot more than that if we consider appeals and so on. So it costs the taxpayer a significant amount of money what they're doing. But again, in the end, it works in terms of intimidating immigrants and discouraging from coming into the United States in the hopes that they can apply and get immigration benefits or asylum protection. So ICE is hiring thousands of new agents. There are more raids internally. Again, I will tell you that news also hype the panic about this. It's not as prevalent, it's not as widespread as it's in the news, but it does happen, unfortunately. So some individuals who are just simply here waiting for their asylum cases to be heard, or someone, even permanent residents and U.S. citizens sometimes get caught in all this, unfortunately, again because of the intimidation tactics. So in terms of changes in laws, in the way that asylum cases are handled in immigration courts, what has been happening? So the USCIS, well, first in affirmative stage, USCIS has been issuing a series of memorandums and changing how they treat this type of applicant, how they treat this type of issue, how the officer reviewing asylum case or some other type of case should be reviewing and treating the type of issue. I'm not going to go into specifics of those, but there are a series of memorandums being issued by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. There are also a series of Board of Immigration Appeals decisions and BIA decision. BIA is basically the review court that is above the immigration courts. So if an immigration judge makes a decision, either the government or the applicant appeals, that appeal goes to the Board of Immigration Appeals as of right. Now, Board of Immigration Appeals and the immigration judges are not part of U.S. judicial system. They're not part of the judicial system. They are part of the executive branch, which means that they report to the Attorney General. of the United States, who reports to the president, according to President Trump. So immigration judges and Board of Immigration Appeals, they can promulgate their own procedures and laws, not laws, but the procedures and the way interpretations of the laws based on what the president's administration wants, what the attorney general wants. An attorney general can also refer Board of Immigration Appeals cases to herself and issue a decision, interpretation of the law, or decision based on her interpretation and her policies, which again follow what Trump's general policies are. So there have been a series of decisions issued by BIA that have significant effect on the asylum eligibility in immigration courts. For example, a family being a particular social group, which is nexus for asylum claim, that has been significantly narrowed under a recent decision issued on September 2nd. Then qualifying for asylum based on a particular social group of a gender-based violence. So, for example, someone who has suffered domestic violence in their home countries. As we know, in some, unfortunately, conservative countries, there is still honor killing, there is arranged forced marriages, and so on. So it's become much harder to qualify those types of applications for asylum eligibility in the United States because of that decision from September 2nd. Notably, that decision was also made under the first Trump administration by Attorney General Sessions, which was then reversed by Attorney General under Biden administration. And then a new precedent again was issued under the Trump administration, reversing Biden administration's decision, reversing Trump's decision. So you can imagine, what we're going through with all these changes. And now there is probably going to be circuit court appeal, and then there will be appeals court appeal, and case may go to the Supreme Court. Then there has been a change that was issued just today, a decision by Attorney General issued just today, which says that the immigration judge may pretermit the asylum application even without a hearing, meaning the immigration judge at the master hearing can review the asylum application and based on what was written there, what's in the declaration, decide that this applicant doesn't qualify for asylum. There are lots of due process claims against it, but that was the decision by the BIA that was just issued today. So what it means is that if you have a very weak asylum claim on its face, meaning based on what's written in there, if it seems like there is not enough basis for asylum, hopefully not seems, but if the judge, if the judge clearly sees there is not enough basis for asylum, the DHS attorney, the government, so to speak, prosecutor in immigration court can ask the judge to dismiss the case even without a hearing on the merits of the case. And that has now been said by the BIA. I'm sure there will be appeals to the circuit court, and this will go on, and hopefully this changes because the due process, I believe, requires the asylum applicant to be heard. The judge should be able to talk to the asylum applicant, ask questions, meaning the applicant should be able to present the case to the judge before a decision is made. Because what you fill out at the asylum application form, in the form, and what you provide in your declaration may be limited. It doesn't have to be very extensive. And the issue is that if you've provided limited information, even the spaces in the form are not enough to provide full information. So if you provided limited information, how it may be interpreted may be different depending on the judge. With that being said, depending on the judge, what is also significantly happening, and I think that's not intended, but the secondary effect, the side effect of what Trump administration is doing, is that there is now significant contrast between the different courts, immigration courts, in different parts of the country. So I've always been skeptical. I've had always clients ask me, oh, if I move to California, will I have a better chance? If I move to, red state or blue state, do I have more chances here or there? That used to matter to some extent, but even within those blue states or red states, there was difference significant between the judges. But that contrast is now significantly increased. And the reason why is because, as I explained, the Board of Immigration Appeals is part of the executive branch of the government. They'll do whatever the Trump administration, whatever the president, whatever Attorney General Bondi says, they'll do it. Of course, they say within the boundaries of Constitution, but nowadays we see how flexible they are, those boundaries. So, but they'll do whatever they say. But once that is appealed, the case is appealed after the BIA, after the Board of Immigration Appeals, it goes to the Circuit Federal Court. And now Federal Court has the jurisdiction over a region, usually, typically, several states or parts of states, large states, they may be split into various federal district courts. And now what each of those circuit courts say will be having binding effect on what the BIA has to do on this case. So in simpler terms, for immigrant viewers, I will tell you that what it means is that if you are in California, you have a higher chance that many of these laws, that new precedents that Attorney General Bondi issued, will be struck down. If you are in Atlanta, Georgia, you have much less chances because of the conservative circuit court with conservative judges and the decisions issued there. I don't, want to badmouth any courts, any judges. There are great decisions that come from, I believe it's a First Circuit that takes care that Atlanta, Georgia falls under. But generally, yes. So that contrast is significantly increased now, depending on the location, your location. And that's where the court is. That's where your immigration court case is going to be. The decision, the outcome of your case may significantly be different. It may also be significantly different depending on the judge, specific judge. Now, judges are human beings, and we all have certain prejudices, certain, predispositions, and so on. But that has become a lot more visible and significant in the recent times because of who the judges, who the Trump administration is appointing as immigration judges. So the newer judges have less. I mean, again, I don't want to say anything negative, but they have less sympathy, not just sympathy, but also they are more. They're someone who was appointed by, it does have effect. It shouldn't, but it does affect who, and the types of judges who are appointed, who they have worked as in the past, whether it was a government attorney in the past, was it a private practitioner in the past, was it someone who worked for a nonprofit immigrant rights organization in the past. I mean, all of that leaves traces in the decisions, in the sympathy, in the human factor of the decision made by the judge. So the contrast of the types of individuals that are now being appointed as immigration judges, the types of professionals that are being appointed as immigration judges by the Trump administration has significantly changed. I mean, you barely ever see anyone who had a private practice experience in immigration law was being appointed by the judge, but as an immigration judge by Trump administration. And again, remember, you have to understand that immigration judges are appointed directly by the president, by the attorney general, and they are, the number of judges, the number of immigration courts, because immigration courts and Board of Immigration Appeals are part of the Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice, which directly reports to Trump, versus federal district courts, circuit courts, and then appeals courts, and the U.S. Supreme Court, which is independent, supposed to be independent from the president. But there are lots of dynamics on who gets appointed by who. You probably hear a lot in the news as well. So arrests in immigration courts, they do take place, not as widely as it's being reported, but it does happen. If you had any significant criminal charges or convictions, I wouldn't say this in the past, but if you have had a DUI, DWI, or you had, a misdemeanor theft charge, so on, you're under significant risk. The master hearings, as much as you can, try to have those master hearings remotely. So if you have an attorney who's handling your case, in most of the courts, most of the judges, I'd say probably 99% of the courts and judges, the master hearing can be done remotely, and you can attend remotely. Now, next, so southern border, we spoke about the bond hearings. So one of the recent BIA decisions said that if someone crossed the border illegally, meaning without inspection, the immigration court has no bond jurisdiction. So that's what the government has been using. Now, what they've been doing is they've been issuing expedited removal and then placing the individual in removal proceedings because of the positive credible fear outcome. And then they were using that to ban immigration judges from being able to issue a bond order to grant a bond. And now there was a BIA decision which says that the bond cannot be granted if someone has entered the United States without inspection. So regarding this part, the fear, intimidation, what they do in immigration courts, this is as much I'm going to say. So if you have any questions, please post. I will address as many questions as I can, hopefully, each one of them. The next change that I want to talk about is fee increases and payment processing. So this refers to every type of case. There's been significant increase in the filing fees, government filing fees for all types of applications. Before you file any kind of application, make sure to go online on the USCIS website and verify the fees. Do not rely on any information you have from the forums or from any past resources, outdated resources. The fees have changed. And some of them are complicated. Some of them have multiple different kinds of fees applying for different applications. And then you have to calculate, you have to think whether the small business fee applies to you or not, whether asylum application fee applies to you or not. So talk to a lawyer, to your lawyer, the lawyer that's handling your case, and find that out. The USCIS is moving now to credit card payments only. That's, I would say, is a positive move because generally everything online is much easier. But what's not positive about it, which is actually makes the whole thing not positive, is because the filings are not online. So you would file the entire huge package of application, and what you need to do is, we're going back probably about 15 years in doing that. So you have to take a paper. Well, they have a form and enter your credit card information and file it with the application, with that thing. First, it's very security dangerous from security point of view. So, a mail gets lost, somebody opens, they have your credit card information, right? So that's ridiculous that the government is forcing us to do. Now, the filings themselves, some of them there's been a positive movement in terms of online filing. Some of the applications, many applications actually can be filed online. But those who cannot be filed online, that's where you have to do this paper filing with your credit card information. So visa backlogs, wait times, in many instances, especially with the visa processing through consulates, they have significantly, unfortunately, increased. So visa wait times increase. So if you have a case in NVC, you have a family reunification case, marriage-based, spouse, relative, parents, children, and so on, expect longer delays. So, U.S. citizen, immediate family members, I would say about 18 to 24 months, so approximately 2 years. The wait times for general application processing in the United States, such as adjustment of status and so on, that significantly increased, I would say. The naturalization, though, interestingly, it's become faster, I believe. So because, we receive notices of the interviews, of ceremonies frequently, and based on what we see daily, it takes somewhere around 4 to 6 months or so. It's been around that. I mean, there were good times when it used to take about 3 months for naturalization, but in general, I would say about 4 to 6 months currently. affirmative asylum applications, what is happening with the processing times and interviews there? I would say chaos, because what happens is you file an asylum application, it can be identical two cases. One of them gets scheduled for an interview within a couple of months. One of them goes to the black hole. There is a receipt and so on, and it's going to go to the backlog, and it will be years until this individual is scheduled for an interview, and this one is not. So there is, I still cannot put my finger on it, what exactly causes some interviews being scheduled. I mean, we all know during 2018, I believe, during the first Trump administration, they tried to clear asylum backlogs by trying to schedule for interviews on last come, first served basis. I hope I'm saying it right. Meaning somebody who filed asylum in 2018 would be scheduled for an interview within 3 weeks, and somebody who filed in 2015 would still be waiting in that multi-year backlog. The hope was that they would discourage those applicants who are filing just to get by without real basis for asylum from filing asylum, because now they know they'll be interviewed very quick. They're not going to get a chance to get a work permit because of 150 days wait time before eligibility. And then they even tried to get the courts to process those cases faster, but none of that worked. It failed, and the asylum backlog actually increased. It increased both in the asylum office and in the immigration courts. That was in 2018. And then they went back to regular processing, first come, first serve. So currently we still have asylum applicants from 2016 that are pending, and some of them are getting scheduled now, those applications that were filed in 2016, 17. I believe we may have one or two cases from 2015, but those have already been scheduled last year or so. So, but randomly, as I said, maybe what I'm thinking is that they are still trying to discourage by not scheduling all of the new applications for interview sooner than the applicant would want or many would expect. So because they are not able to process them all, they do randomly. So you basically have, I would say, 25% chance of having your case. I have to look up. Maybe there's already some information about this, but we usually have quarterly meetings with the asylum office director where we discuss these topics. I'll update you guys whenever I find out if there is a formal policy currently. But they announced a formal policy. I believe that they announced that formally they want to process those who file now first and then clear the backlog afterwards. But again, that's not happening because some of the applications we're filing, they're not getting scheduled for interviews. Parolees, deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACAs, and TPS. What to expect, I can't say. I mean, there is uncertainty in those areas, and that's intentional. So some TPSs have been terminated, meaning their renewals have been terminated. Parole process has been terminated. The parole for individuals from Afghanistan, from several other countries, including, I believe it was Colombia, Cuba, and so on, that was canceled. Ukrainian parole, U4U, has been canceled from the beginning of Trump 2.0. The CBP1 process has been canceled. The TPS for many still exist, but some of them get terminated. And again, it seems to me also random the way they terminate the TPS. They extend TPS for some countries, they terminate for some. It seems to me that they want to create this chaos and uncertainty so nobody can predict what's going to happen, and they're discouraged from remaining in the United States. And generally, they're trying to portray United States as, vicious and an unpleasant place to be, maybe reminiscent of what those immigrants are running from. Many of those immigrants are coming from authoritarian countries with no freedom of speech, no freedom of press, but many freedoms restricted. And it seems like what Trump administration is trying to do here is to create the same for immigrants, primarily, where they're targeting anyone who's an immigrant. They even came up with that idea. I think it was a memorandum to the State Department memorandum to the consulates that the visa applicants will be vetted for their un-Americanism or something. I'm not remembering the correct, or for, the idea is generally if their thoughts and actions are against the United States national interest. We're not talking about terrorism. We're not talking about them taking action against the United States or, doing anything of that nature. We're talking about somebody who may have just tweeted or put a post, criticizing something like Israel's actions in Gaza, something like this. So they are now reviewing that. I mean, that's, in my mind, that's First Amendment violation, that's constitutional violation. But whether it applies to those immigrants or not, that's something that the Supreme Court is going to have to decide. So the TPS, these chaos, they're writing, they're creating this. We're seeing a lot of old policies come back, from the first Trump administration, things that they did that didn't work out or wasn't done properly. Now they're trying to do it again. The changes are very fast. In the blink of an eye, you can, file an application package. Even we, immigration lawyers, we end up sometimes filing something, and by the time from something, the package was prepared yesterday, by the time we're filing it today, something changed, whether a filing fee, a form has changed. In the past, they used to change the forms, and they would usually give sufficient heads up and time for the new edition of the form to be used and the old edition to be phased out. So as the word suggests, they would phase it out. Now what they do is they suddenly come up with a form. Today, from now on, for asylum, you have to file this form. The old versions are not accepted, period. So something that we prepared yesterday for filing today may have to be changed. So be very extremely careful. Make sure you hire proper, diligent, experienced immigration lawyer for your case. That's I'm trying to advertise us, and we'll be happy to help you with that. So let me go through some of the questions that I've been most frequently asked. One of the questions that I've been asked a lot, during this Trump administration, Trump 2.0, is, I filed my application and my asylum case is pending. Do these changes, do I still have a case? Do I still have basis for asylum, or should I just give up? Everything is so bad. The answer is no. A lot of these, it's not that bad. The answer is that the basis for asylum, the core laws, which say that you must be provided protection in the United States if you have reasonable, well-founded fear of persecution in your home country, based on the grounds of either religion, nationality, ethnicity/race, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. If based on all those grounds, which we call nexus, you have a reasonable chance of persecution, okay, that hasn't changed. You still have to show only a reasonable chance, not the likelihood, not more than 50%, not that certainty, not beyond a reasonable doubt, but a reasonable chance. Then you are qualified for asylum protection in the United States. And then you can apply for permanent residency based on this and then qualify for citizenship. So that has not changed. And that's the fundamental asylum law based on the United States signing a treaty on the status of refugees, based on which the asylum laws have been enacted. So that still exists. And if you have those bases, you qualify for asylum. It's a question of twists and turns in the case, issues, how you prove it. They're trying to make it as difficult as possible. A lot of it is intimidation. So on a good note, I want to say that don't be fearful. Do not fall into the trap. do not drop your case, withdraw, and leave the United States because of what you see on the news or what you fear is going to happen to you. I mean, look, there is still voluntary departure. In the worst case scenario, you can always ask for voluntary departure, leave the United States. You're not going to have a 10-year ban in most cases. There are lots of twists and turns. So don't withdraw your case, don't drop your case. Of course, if you don't have basis for it, if you have, unfounded asylum claim, then withdraw your case. I please ask you to do so. But if you have basis, if you need protection, do not withdraw your case, and we'll find a way. They are trying to make it difficult, but you have a significant resource. Us immigration lawyers, American Immigration Lawyers Association, lots of organizations, ACLU, many organizations, I'm not going to name all of them, that have deep roots in protecting immigrant rights. They're on your side and will do everything to protect you. So do not worry, do not fall into that fear trap and leave your family or drop everything. Okay, so let me see what questions do we have. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to pronounce any names. I'll just read the questions as they're posted, just in case if somebody doesn't want. There's one. Says, hello, I came to U.S.-Mexico border 2024 with my wife and son, 23 December 2025, my individual hearing, but I want to file a motion to continue. My wife is pregnant. My baby will be born 4th. I guess 4th now. Oh, 4th baby. Is it enough reason? So I don't know what that means, 4th. I mean, if your wife is pregnant, if you're expecting very close to your hearing date, yes, you can file for a motion to continue. You can ask the judge to continue the case, but make sure you do it ahead of time. That will irritate the judge, and your wife will risk order of removal if she doesn't show up. I don't think realistically any normal judge would do it, but order removal. But get the documents from medical records, file a motion to continue. If your case is in immigration court, you should have a lawyer. It's very naive to go to immigration court and handle all this by yourself. So get a lawyer and go through that process. Okay. The next viewer is Ismail is the best lawyer and his professional team is top notch. Thank you very much. We appreciate the comments. Your feedback. Thank you. Right. QA is open. Include. Okay. I paid for premium processing. It's been 15 business days plus another week, and there is still no update. What does that mean, and what should I do now? So premium processing is something when you file, the government promises to process within 15 days. They either have to issue a request for evidence or issue a decision within those 15 days. And that's the guarantee for which you pay a significant amount of money. Over the years, the premium processing fee have increased so much that now in some cases, like I think it's over 3,800 or so on. But typically around it's about 2,800, 2,800. So if you filed with the premium processing, but the government hasn't processed your case, contact the premium processing. You probably have a receipt. You're saying there is no update. Does that mean you don't have a receipt at all? Or if they haven't moved your case forward? If you have a receipt, they haven't moved the case forward, then you're definitely eligible for a refund of this. You can contact the premium processing center if you have a receipt, and they will have to process that. If, on the other hand, you never receive the confirmation that your case has been received and pending, then your case may have been lost in the mail or at the USCIS office. Unfortunately, that happens a lot when they receive lots of packages at the same time. I have seen, coincidentally, I've seen how they process the cases. I've seen long time ago, I believe it was in the Houston office of the USCIS or one of the offices. I don't want to, libel any of those offices, but I've seen how they process those cases. The package of mail, there's a room, maybe it's changed now, but I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago. The mail gets just dumped in like trash into a room, and then those envelopes are being opened by people using, those those mail envelope cutters, and sometimes they cut through the application forms. And then you have those the paper clips, you have those staples, and they get removed left and right. Somebody sometimes have a package of paper which is organized with table of contents and so on, and then somebody drops it. The paper is all over the place. I don't think I saw someone drop it there, but I imagined when I saw a lady there, a clerk holding this type of package and going through those pins. So hopefully the procedures are more organized, but I doubt it, unfortunately, because now they're even more overwhelmed, and with these, stupid mailing filings, that the number of applications, everything is just much harder than it even used to be. Because back then they didn't have much backlogs, so even then they were processing that way. So anyway, bottom line, nobody knows what happened if you didn't receive. Then you may want to check with the bank to see if your check has cleared. And if it has not, then definitely refile it and make sure to put a stop payment on that check. But if your check has cleared, then contact the premium processing if the USA has cleared the check. And they may be able to trace your case with your check number. Okay, so I'm going to translate this as I read from Russian into English, since this is an English version of our YouTube live stream. But we will have Russian version for all Eastern European clients, viewers who come from the former Soviet Union. Unfortunately, many of these countries, they have been imposed to learn Russian language, and that's why they do speak Russian. So we hold these Russian language YouTube live streams every Thursday, starting from next Thursday. So anyone who wants to ask a question in Russian or hear all this information in Russian language, you can join us. Please join us on our YouTube channel, the Russian language YouTube channel, and join us every second Thursday, starting from next Thursday. But I'll translate this one. So, hello, Ismail. I am your client. We met, I guess it's former client. So, met 3 years ago. I was a little. Let me know when I can contact you. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry that if you contacted today and we didn't get back to you. So we, as a law firm policy, we have policy of 24 hours, meaning if somebody contacts us today, we'll either get back to you today or the next business day. If today is Friday, the next business day may be Monday. But I'll find out who you are, and I'll make sure that I get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so 4th of November is delivery date. Okay, the 4th of November is delivery date. Your hearing is December 23rd. It's kind of stretch. I mean, hopefully your wife doesn't have any complications with the delivery. And if that's not the case, that's going to be a stretch to continue your individual hearing, because you have approximately a month and 15 days in between. And this is your hearing, not meaning if you are the principal applicant, that might be even less likely. Okay, this individual writes, hello, Ismail. I am Azerbaijani living in Moscow region. If I come to USA by tourist visa, can I legalize, and which ways are available? Well, there are many different ways to immigrate into the United States. So the first thing the question you're asking is very broad. So I always tell individuals who, ask, can I schedule a consultation to ask about different immigration options? The first thing to do is your homework. I mean, what you want to do, even a consultation, a paid consultation, would not be enough to talk about all of the general types of immigration ways and if it's available for you. Because there is a lot. So what you need to do is you need to do your homework. First, I would split general immigration options into the United States into the categories. One is humanitarian category that goes to asylum, victims of trafficking, violence against women act, the victims of crimes in the United States, the TPS, temporary protected status, refugee status. So that's humanitarian. The second type, I would say, family reunification. So you have spouses, parents, children of U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and in some circumstances, maybe distant relatives. So the family-based cases is another category. The other category is business immigration. So If you want to create your own business, open a business here or buy or join existing business, investment based. There is a visa type, the non-immigrant visa E2, which requires lesser investment. There is also permanent residency with much more investment. There is employment based, where you find an employer who's sponsoring you, whether it's for green card or for work visa. So under those categories, there are many different types of, and there are talents, right? So extraordinary ability, national interest waiver, O1. So if you're a highly talented individual within your field and you're coming to the United States, so you have extraordinary abilities, then you can apply from those talents. So that can be grouped together as the U.S. national interest. So if they are coming because the United States is interested to attract talents. So consider those things, go online, look, and see, what is something that you can qualify for. There is no point to talk about, family reunification if you don't have a family member in the United States who may be able to sponsor you. So do that and then schedule a consultation, whether it's with me or some other qualified, experienced attorney. Then do that, and then they'll tell you all about it, and you will understand all your options. Okay. All right. So next question is, good evening, attorney. My medical exam might expire soon. Do I need a new one, and when? Now, when you need a new one depends on when you will be filing for whatever application you're filing. The medical exam, if it expires or it expired, it's not that difficult to renew it since you already got all the vaccinations. That's usually the most challenging and probably expensive part. So you should go to the same medical examination office. That's a private medical practice that got the USCIS blessing. So go to them and I'll tell them that it expired. They'll just fill out the new form, sign it, seal it in the envelope, and give it to you. It shouldn't cost much. I mean, it's something administrative. So yeah, but in terms of when you should do it, depends on when you are trying to file it for application. So the next question is, my cousin won her asylum January. Can she apply for green card? Because we heard the Trump administration has put green card applications on hold. So no, the green card applications are not on hold. They put the pause on the processing of the green card applications, but you can still file and they get accepted and processed. There's litigation going on. There has been hold on the processing and then it was lifted. I don't want to give you wrong information, but in terms of filing, yes, you can file. You can file your adjustment of status. In the past, after asylum, in the past, we used to, the regulation was that we had to wait for 1 year before the grant of asylum to be able to file adjustment of status, but that has changed by a memorandum issued close to the end of Biden, well, maybe in the middle of Biden administration. And I am surprised that it still stands. So an adjustment of status application filed today for asylum grant yesterday still gets accepted and processed. The problem is the processing of those applications takes significant amount of time. So the caveat is by the time the officer reviews your adjustment of status application, you must have already accrued 1 year of physical presence. And because it takes them about 2 years to review from the time of filing, even if you file the day you get granted asylum, you should be fine. Now, I do want to give you a precaution as a general policy within our firm. We usually ask our clients to wait about 3 months because we've had instances, thankfully we didn't file those too early, where adjustment, as I said, it's chaotic under the Trump administration. We had instances where asylee adjustment took about 8 months or so, where all others are taking about 2 years. So bottom line, wait 3 months after you grant for asylum and then file. Okay, is it possible for your client to meet you in person? Okay, well, let's talk about this. I don't want to discuss all the, individual client matters over this live YouTube. So I'll contact you and we'll go over it. Okay. Next question: will a small ticket of misdemeanor hurt much my immigration case? It may. depends on the specific misdemeanor. So something that is classified as misdemeanor under state law, um, uh, you know, no matter how strange it sounds, it may be classified as an aggravated felony under immigration laws, under federal law. So it's very, very complicated. So it depends on the specific state, depends on the which specific misdemeanor, depends on the sentence that was imposed. A suspended sentence is not bad in the state, for you don't have to go to prison basically, in terms of punishment, but it may not matter whether it's suspended or not for immigration purposes. So it's very, very delicate, and I strongly recommend to consult with a lawyer, with an immigration lawyer. You can contact us. There is all information at the bottom, and you will need to get that misdemeanor certified copy and present it to us or whoever lawyer you hire, and they'll analyze and they'll tell you what you should be cautious about, or whether there's an exception that is applicable, or whether it's something that doesn't matter at all for your immigration matters. So let's see what other question I'm nervous about. So the next question is, okay. Sir, I'm nervous about the asylum interview. What questions do officers usually ask? All right. So we have a separate long and short video on preparing for asylum interview. It's on our channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and then go through the videos. I think we also had a live session similar to this one, where we spoke specifically about preparing for asylum interview. So go to those videos, listen. I give you all the tips about what to do, what to say, how to speak. Of course, it's not coaching because I don't even know about your case. I'm talking about in general how to prepare for your asylum interview, and how to interact with the officer and what to expect. It's extremely important to be well prepared, and that's very, very kind of praising myself, but those videos are very helpful. So view those videos, view those live session or whatever you find on our channel on preparing specifically for asylum interviews. And if you still have questions, or even if you don't have questions, contact us. We'll talk. We do, we'll talk about your case. We'll explain, we'll analyze, and we'll tell you, what you should do, what kind of documents you should prepare, and what to expect, for your case. It's very important to have a qualified immigration attorney to prepare you for the asylum interview and to be with you at your interview, to be either remotely or in person, but to be present. That's extremely important. The outcome of your case significantly depends on it. And preferably the attorney who prepared and filed your asylum application should be the one attending. And we do that for all our cases. If our law firm prepared and filed an asylum application for any of our clients, whether it's been 9 years ago, 10 years ago, or yesterday, we participate in every interview for all our clients, unless the client specifically decides not to have us present, which rarely happens. Okay. So next question is 4th of November, wife, baby delivery. Okay, sir, I wish good luck and best of success with the delivery of your baby. 4th of November, wife, baby delivery, and final hearing, good reason. Okay, that's the same question. So as I said, sir, it may not be good reason. Hopefully you don't have the reason to not be able to attend that hearing. Hopefully the delivery is successful and there are no complications. But if there are if the doctor says, if you get a doctor's note saying that yes, it's really, there are complications, then it may be a good reason. Okay, so if you have any questions posted there, we still continue our live session, but I will read some of the questions that was previously submitted to us, which my bad, I should have read because they were diligent to do it ahead of time. I should have read first, but I got too excited after all this lengthy absence reading questions from the live viewers. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Disregard all my jokes and comments, but I appreciate everyone who participates at this live session and asks these questions. Okay, so did the 2025 rules make family or work visas easier or harder? Oh, that's very sharp question. So family, I'd say harder. Work visas, depends. I would say all of them harder. Family harder in terms of taking time and just backlogs. Um, Work visas harder is the burden, the threshold is much higher. Now, for example, we handle a lot of extraordinary ability EB1 talent, permanent residency based on talent types of cases, where the petitions we file, the national interest waiver petitions and so on, we feel significant pushback from the USCIS, whether it's an official policy or whether it's I don't know what. I mean, I think it's official policy. So they're making it harder to prove that somebody has talents or somebody's work in the United States isn't the U.S. national interest. I mean, I'm talking about. Let me give you an example. We filed a case for a client of ours who is a professor and a prominent scientist with the invention patent as well as numerous publications in the field of advanced technology and artificial intelligence, AI, to the level that I had goosebumps with just communicating with that individual how prominent this person is. And the USCIS, and this person works as a professor at the university currently and participates in a bunch of prominent conferences, does presentations and so on. And that's evidence was submitted, including the letter from his employer, from the university, a very prominent university. And the USCIS sends the request for evidence, first questioning how, asking us to prove that this individual will continue working in the field of his expertise. While this person is actually current, if you just look up his name, he's a professor at the university. I mean, we see this type of ridiculous RFEs. It's just being much more than it used to be, and I feel like it's all over the place. Initially, under the Trump administration, I always thought that the work visas will become easier because it's all about the money. We are bringing here talents. It helps investment visas and so on. And other than this, stupid gold card or whatever that it's not realistic. The Congress has to create that basis. Other than that, I mean, I haven't seen anything helpful for businesses in the United States in immigration front from Trump administration. Okay, so the next question: are there any fees or forms? Are there any fees? Okay, we talked about the fees and forms. Did anything change about interviews or where they happen? No, the interviews are still the same in the same process, but as I said, the time the interviews get scheduled may be much earlier in some cases or may take many years in other cases. Did the new updates change who can get waivers or parole? Yes, so the waivers, well, not the waivers, but the parole has changed significantly for many countries. The parole that existed, the parole program, they have been canceled and terminated, as we previously discussed. How long are people waiting in 2025 for a work permit, green card, or asylum interview? So asylum interview, we spoke about this. Green card, I think we also touched about it. Work permit currently takes about 6 to 8 months, sometimes longer, but again, everything is chaotic. I mean, we have had a work permit application filed and we got a decision, my paralegal would know this better. I think it was like within 5 days. And then some work permits we filed take close to a year or more to process. And it's not because they're different or filed differently. Is expedite request still a thing? Yes, the expedite request still a thing. They can file expedite request, and expedite requests get processed by the USCIS. It's very difficult to get your case expedited. I always tell my clients who tell me, can I expedite my case based on this? I always tell them, look, imagine you are in a long line at the airport and everybody's waiting for the security check, and you suddenly are telling everyone to move aside so you go first. You must have a really strong emergency reason to do so. Just that you're running late to the plane is not even a strong reason at the airport, because everybody else is probably, they want to get earlier, or some of them may be running late to their flight. It's no longer a stronger reason. So the same way here, if you have a case being pending and being processed by the USCIS or consulate or the State Department National Visa Center, you contact them and you want to expedite your case, you better have strong reasons and you have to document that. So the way you do it is you go online, you submit the request, and you upload those supporting documentation, and the USCIS reviews and issues a decision. Okay, I see a question here. What is the next live stream will be? So this live streams, as I said, will be bi-weekly. So the next live stream will be the Thursday after next. Next Thursday, we have a Russian language live stream for our clients, all our clients from post-Soviet countries. Not clients, I mean viewers from post-Soviet countries. But this English language live stream will be 2 Thursdays after. So not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. And we'll try to keep it as consistent as possible. Okay, so it's been exactly 1 hour, and I think we can wrap it up here. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. As I said, it's been a long while that we went live, and it's good to be back. We do need your help. Please like this video so that we can gather more viewers. And please subscribe to our channel so you can learn a lot about different immigration procedures and steps. You will, no matter what type of immigration application you have, or your relative or your friend, acquaintance has, or something that you're looking ahead, or you have something pending, you will find useful information on our channel. So subscribe to it so you receive all the updates, and join our live sessions frequently so that you can ask the questions directly from me and schedule consultations with us. All the contact information is below. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice evening.